This Advent 400 betting picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, MMA, NHL, golf, NASCAR, F1, and more. Sign up today at UnderdogFantasy.com using promo code RACESGPN to get a 100% deposit match.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome into another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Apparently, both of us got the memo today to wear our SGP hoodies. And what a great and fantastic...
I didn't even realize that. We're matching. Look at that.
We are matching. If you're not watching on YouTube, you're missing Twins Day here. Tuesday, Twins Day on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. But it is, of course, Kansas, the first of two races in Kansas for the NASCAR Series. The Advent 400. Cannot wait for Kansas, Cody. This one, look, handicapping this one was kind of crazy. However, I think I know the direction that we're going according to the sheet. So we'll see if everybody else is on board. Sorry, we're a little late. Life comes at you fast, and definitely had to reschedule the show. But we're here now, guys, and we're here ready to talk Kansas with you.
That's right. We are here, Rod, ready to talk Kansas. Thank you for those in the chat. We had some people checking in earlier when we were supposed to be live. Jeff Jeter, what's happening, fellas? What's happening, Jeff? Hope you're back now. King, locked in on this episode. Feels pretty good about this weekend. I feel pretty good about this weekend too, Rod. Boji Joe jumping in. Noah. Top 10 and top Ford. Rod, I don't know if you've looked at the sheet. I don't think I've ever made a box as long as I've made the box that has Noah Gragson bets in it this week. So,
I missed one of them. You added another one.
I found another one I couldn't pass up. That's going to be a lot of me talking about Noah Gragson. So we will be doing that. Also, myself checking in the chat. For those of you listening in the chat, if you see top 10 odds pop up while we're recording this, hit us up. Let us know what book, because I'd love to give out some top 10 bets, Rod, but for some reason, we don't have any top 10s available with this. There's a lot of stuff out there this week, which I don't quite get, but there's not top 10s. So interesting. But Laura checking in saying, hi, guys. Laura, what's up? Thanks for checking in. And Boji Joe asked, car lifting Noah. Sort of. In a
carjacking,
Noah. We're not carjacking Noah, but yeah, I don't really know how to call what it's going to be. So you're just going to have to stick around and figure it out. Laura says, wished he made top 5 last week. He was so close to a top 5. Maybe he'll do it this week. King is back from when he was checking in earlier. Still waiting on FanDuel to put odds out. Yeah, don't hold your breath on FanDuel. They're one of the slowest books ever. Dalton checking in. He's the Blue Deuce over in the Discord. Checking in, saying hello. I believe he's the one who just said he was going to bet on Hendrick 2311 and Toyota, which I don't really think that maths out to be, and Gibbs, which it might be tough math-wise, but you'll probably cash at least one of those, I would guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential in quite a few of those, so definitely thank you. And thank you all for checking in the chat. Love to see this thing blowing up already. But listen, before we go any further, it's playoff time. Maybe not in NASCAR, but the other sports have some playoffs going on. That's like NBA, NHL, both of them have their playoffs in full bloom right now. So make sure to tune in all week to the NBA and Hockey Gambling Podcast for episodes to get you locked in for exciting playoff action. Not to mention, ladies and gentlemen, it's horsey time. It's Derby week on the Sports Gambling Podcast. Tune in as the guys get you ready for the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. All right, Cody, like we said, it is the Advent 400 from the Kansas Speedway. It is the first of, like we said, 2 races on this track. We are set for 267 laps around this 1.5 miles. We are back to 1.5 mile tracks for 400.5 miles of exciting Kansas action. Again, these 1.5 mile tracks, each one has their own unique now, right? Before the cookie cutter tracks were cookie cutter. Now they're kind of like not cookie cutter anymore. Kansas has its own you can use 1.5 miles as comps, but really, truly, Kansas is its own beast in and of itself.
Yeah, it is its own beast in and of itself, Rod. Arguably the best track, one of the best tracks for sure on the entire circuit right now. The surface is worn to that perfect spot where you're getting the tire well, you get the great racing. I believe all 4 next-gen races have been really good there. Last year's races, both of them, extremely good. Great finishes. I was there in the spring when Denny used up Larson on the end there, passed him. It looked to us at the track like he wrecked him. Maybe not so much. He was just using the air. Great finish. And I was there for Kurt Busch's last win a couple years ago. Sadly, won't be there this weekend, but hopefully be back at Kansas in the fall. Troy checking in saying, "What's up, players?" And also saying Kansas is the best track. Agreed with you. I do think that it is the best track, if not one of the best, for sure. Been getting really good races there. I think we're going to get that again this weekend, Rod. So pretty excited for this one.
I agree. And the chat's blowing up with all of our plays. Guys, get out of our docks. Listen, I'm telling you right now, if you guys want us to actually do the show.
Larson out there. Larson's a play every week, right?
I'm just saying, get out of our docks.
Hey, I did find a way to bet on Larson finally, Rod. So.
Well, you did too, and I saw that. However, I will say that I love the fact that you guys are in this doing this, because that means that you've been paying attention and we're teaching you how to slowly bet. You don't need us, but you continue to listen to us, which is, I think at this point in my life, in my career, probably the best thing I can take from all of this. So, exactly. Cody, entry list, any, go ahead.
I do have a couple of news stories if you want to hit those real quickly. A couple of things. Shane Van Gisbergen is going to miss the All-Star race. Neither Trackhouse nor Colleague are going to field a car for him. Sort of disrespectful, kind of, to SVG.
A little bit.
There's not a lot of money in this race for the teams in particular. I get that. Although, I mean, I'll be interested to see, like, I guess AJ is probably in the 16 car, right? Because he would be eligible as well. So he probably gets first. Because I'm thinking you're going to have somebody in that car. Charter cars have to be in the race, right? If AJ's in there, I guess that makes sense. Otherwise, why wouldn't you put SVG in there? But why wouldn't Trackhouse? I mean, come on, give the guy. Look, I'm here defending SVG. He should be able to race in the All-Star race. Again,
wait, Coca, are you okay? I want to check on your well-being. Blink twice if you're being held hostage.
Not being held hostage, so everything's good. I love SVG.
Okay.
I bet on him a bunch of times a couple of weeks ago, Rod. But yeah, he should be in the race. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, there's contractual stuff. I mean, it's not like, Rick Ware can just be like, hey, come jump in my Ford and race the race, because he's contracted with Chevy and all that stuff. So we'll have to see kind of how that goes. And if, this coming out now is kind of one of those things where maybe this is kind of throwing a little bit of bait in the water to see if we can catch something and figure something out, or Wendy's steps up and says, you know what, we're going to sponsor him and save. Wendy's comes in to save the day and they're putting the 97 car out there or something like that, right? So it'll be interesting to see if that's actually the case. But it is sad if he doesn't make it, because obviously he is qualified for it. So unfortunate there, at least at the time being. And then, Rod, they announced before in the pre-race last week, Kevin Harvick making his return to the Cup Series. Not sort of, right? He's just going to practice Kyle Larson's car, because Larson will be in Indy practicing for the Indy 500 course during All-Star practice. So Harvick's going to practice it, potentially qualify it if it's depending on how it works time-wise and getting to the track and all of that. So I can't really think of a better guy to put in that car as far as someone who just got out of the car, as far as someone who can tell you exactly what's going on with it. It'll be great from the TV side of things. I think it was Door Bumper Clear that I heard making this point. When Kevin's in the booth during the All-Star race, he doesn't have to say, oh, I talked to Kyle yesterday, and, this is what he said about the car. He could say, I was sitting in the car yesterday, and this is what I felt, right? So he'll kind of have that perspective, which will be really cool from the TV side of things. And, hey, seeing Harvick back in the car will be great. So pretty awesome to have him being the guy that's filling in over there for Kyle Larson in the Hendrick camp for practice, at least, potentially qualifying as well for the All-Star race.
Yeah, how much fun is Kevin going to have? I mean, again, sitting in this seat in the booth for a while, thinking to himself, man, I really do kind of wish I could be back down there. And then, of course, now he gets to be back in the car. Although I picture this as Kevin Harvick tossing the keys to Kyle Larson when Kyle Larson gets back on the track and be like, you're a quart low, buddy. You're going to have to put some oil into that. And so and Kyle's like, hey, thanks a lot, buddy, for all of that. But yeah, I mean, listen, again, for Kevin Harvick, you're right. He just left the seat, so he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's going to warm that car up good for Larson. And hopefully Larson has a good experience over there in IndyCar world, comes back and his seat's nice and warm, and then he gets a chance to, hang out and drive a well-prepared car thanks to Kevin Harvick, the legend of all legends.
Exactly. Hey, Troy, do you see this bet anywhere? Because I'm very interested in it. He says just bet the odd number to win. I was actually looking for this.
Caesars has it.
Because do they? I don't think they have odd even this week, do they? If you see it, Rod, let me know, because I saw they have like winning car number over unders. Not quite as interested in that.
Yeah,
I think you'll see. Yeah, if you've seen that anywhere, Troy, or if anyone else sees it, let me know, because I would like to know, because odd number cars this weekend, like. Yes, I would probably pay close to minus 200 for that bet, Rod. Like, honestly, I think it's going to be, it's all about odd, and you're going to see that throughout this show. A lot of odd numbered cars are going to be coming up in as far as bets today. So, man, the chat's blowing up. Love it. Matt checking in as well. Charles checking in. Ty Gibbs is going to win this week, calling a shot. King obviously loves that. Says, do we just become best friends? Boji Joe says, I look a little pale compared to Rod. Yes. Well, first of all, I'm not really this white. It's just the way the light is. I mean, I have somewhat of a tan at least, but definitely not as tan as Rod is over there.
Well, listen, I was born with a little bit of an advantage, and the warm California sun beating on my face all day has definitely given me even more of an advantage. So while Cody's in the basement cowering from tornadoes, no, I'm just kidding. I'm in the bright sun.
I think our tornado watch is about to expire, Rod. We're in one right now. So.
Oh, my God. Whew,
been one of those days again. Luckily, we actually haven't really had any severe weather today, but yeah, that's how it goes.
Thank goodness. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do this, and then we'll get back into the entry list real quick. I want to tell you about Underdog Fantasy. We will continue to play Underdog Fantasy until we can't anymore, because we love Underdog Fantasy, especially for our racing purposes. But the NBA playoffs are here, and Underdog Fantasy wants to make it a lot more interesting, because Underdog, it's the easiest place to play fantasy sports. You play their pick'em game. It's as simple as picking higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. You can make entries on just basketball, or you can cross sports like hockey, like racing. You can just mix and match until your heart's content on all of your favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money. It is a ton of fun. Underdog's also available in 30 and plus states, including California, Texas, even Canada. Underdog's going to be running a ton of different promos too. Bonus cash airdrops, special giveaways, and so much more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure you follow @UnderdogPicks on Twitter to keep an eye out. Like I said, Underdog's available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada. And they also launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. Make sure you sign up with our promo code RACESGPN. Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code RACESGPN. And of course, tune in later this week as we give you our Underdog picks for the Cup and the Xfinity, or the Truck Series rather. Having a good time doing that. Is it trucks or is it Xfinity? I feel like this week has been so long and it's only Wednesday. I know it's trucks, but
It is trucks this week. No Xfinity, sadly. So make sure you tune back in tomorrow for the Truck Series episode. I saw the outright odds are already out, Rod. So that's a good, yeah, whatever. Hopefully that means we have full slate odds tomorrow. Is what I'm trying to say.
I'd like to hope so. So, all right, Cody, what's the entry list look like for this one?
Yes, Rod, there is an entry list. We have it. I have it. There it is. Okay. 38 cars are entered for this race. We actually have 2 open cars entered into this one. So notables. Riley Herbst is actually back in the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing. So that's good to see. Derek Kraus is going to be in the 16 car for Colleague. # chasing trophies. And then we're adding 2 open cars. Austin Hill is back in the 33 car making another start. Jimmy Johnson. I have forbid Rod from betting on him this episode to save all of you. I actually had to go in and delete one of his bets because he was trying. No, I'm just kidding. Rod didn't try.
I car lifted Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Jackson probably has a better chance at the car lift than Jimmy Johnson.
I don't know who Jimmy Jackson is, but if he's
that's like his like in cars, that's like his rival, Jimmy Jackson. It's like the younger version of the California Kid, whatever. So Jimmy Johnson in the 84 car. Dalton saying legendary Colleague lineup this week. Yes, you have Voldemort and Derek Kraus. They're bringing their A game. So, and then also Rod listed on the entry list in the 43 car is Eric Jones. So currently the sportsbooks have Eric Jones. I don't think Eric Jones. I'm not a doctor. I'll preface that. Not a doctor, so I'm not making any decisions here. But I would be very surprised if we see Eric Jones probably before the All-Star break. I would guess it'll at least be after the All-Star break, if not longer, before we see him. So Corey Heim, I believe, will be the one that ends up in this. Going to be in Kansas anyways. Truck Series is their course. So I would imagine, and I know Bob had tweeted out that Eric has a couple of doctor's appointments this week. Maybe they're kind of waiting to see what the doctors say there. There was also some speculation. Well, Dover is one of the hardest tracks on your body for the drivers. So maybe that's why you hold him out of that. Then if he's not too bad, he comes back. But I'd be surprised if we see Eric Jones this week. So keep an eye on that, of course. But I would guess Corey Heim ends up being the one in that car. And actually, I've got a hypothetical bet related to that I'm going to toss out in a little bit. No odds with Corey Heim not being in the race, but I do like a bet on him already without even knowing the number, Rob.
Well, yeah, I mean, your hypothetical is certainly a hypothetical, but we got to keep an eye out because it could turn into a real thing sooner rather than later. I got to imagine your hypothetical is really good at that. So,
King dropping the hammer on JJ. I like JJ in the 84. Someone has to give Gralla and Zane Smith someone to race. Ouch. Yeah, Gralla's not even in this race, and he might beat Jimmy Johnson. So, what a sad place.
Wait, is Troy right?
Oh my God!
Odd car
minus 240 for the odd car to win. That goes to the point of I said minus 200, Rod. Do I want to go up to 240? That's probably pushing a little bit. Then William Byron or somebody wins and you get screwed. But it's going to be a very odd numbered car heavy day.
It certainly will. Speaking of all of that, then, why don't we get into our bets for this AdventHealth 400 for the Kansas Speedway? Cody, where do we begin?
Yes, Rod. I'm going to go over to the top Toyota market. I'm actually going to take Bubba Wallace at 7-1. Look, this is going to be a Toyota race, most likely, right? They're 4 for 4 winning here in the next gen car. So you're going to have good Toyotas. Danny Hamlin is extremely fucking good here. Tyler Reddick's extremely fucking good here. I expect Ty Gibbs to be good. I expect Martin Truex to be good. I expect Christopher Bell to be good until something goes wrong. Jimmy Johnson, maybe not. But the point being here, Rod, I think it's 7-1 is a good number for Bubba. I'm going to have more bets on him later as well. You know, you could look at his top 5, but that's only +2 something. Maybe that'd be a good way to get in on that as well. But I like the top Toyota bet here because Bubba's got the potential to beat the other Toyotas. This also covers you. Say Kyle Larson wins, Bubba Wallace finishes right behind him. True, you know, maybe Reddick and Hamlin get in a wreck, ends up being a Texas type of situation, right? Enough things can happen, and Bubba on his own is just good enough here at Kansas. I mean, this is his track. It's 2311's track, really, but it's also his track as well. 32nd place here in the fall, Rod. that's not really going to be the top finishing Toyota, right? But he was third place before he blew a tire and hit the wall. Fourth place in the spring, won here in the fall of 22, led 58 laps. He was seventh place at Texas, wrecked at Las Vegas back in the spring, but led 111 laps at Texas as well last season. Fourth at Las Vegas last year as well. Vegas, a very comparable, Vegas probably the most comparable track to Kansas. Michigan kind of being the next most comparable, honestly, I think. And in Texas, you could take some from it. It's not a direct comparison by any means, but yeah, I don't. And Laura here checking in with Toyota. Love Tyler. I love Tyler Reddick too, but he's only like plus 200 to be top finishing Toyota. Again, it's kind of a numbers game. And saying Bubba will wreck. I mean, he did hit wreck in the fall because he blew a tire, but otherwise he's been really good here. Obviously won at Kansas a couple of years ago. Go Fast Troy saying Bubba plus money over Elliott. Bubba needs a good race and it's time. Plus money, I would consider it, but I think Elliott's going to be strong this week too. But this, I think, is a good way to get it on Bubba. Getting a good number at 7-1 when he can be just as good, if not better, than Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick this week. And I think, a lot of weeks you wouldn't say that, but I think at Kansas you can say that. Despite how good Reddick and Hamlin are, he can be just as good as them. This is his track. He shows up. He's always got fast cars here. I think 7-1 is just, again, he's a little bit of a step down from those guys, right? I think, well, and I'll get to how I'm tiering this, but I think this is a very much a Larson, Reddick, Hamlin. The three of those guys I expect to be like 1, 2, 3 the entire day and dominate this race. But Bubba's right behind them there. Could put himself in position, get a late race caution, whatever the case may be. I think it's 7-1. There's good enough value here for Bubba Wallace to get it done.
So spoiler alert, I mean, I'm definitely going to be talking about Toyota a lot more over the course of the rest of this episode as well. So I'm going to float you on Bubba, and you're right. I mean, this is just 23-11, right? This is 23-11, and you figure with the momentum that they've gained from Tyler Reddick doing well the last couple of weeks and winning, obviously. Bubba is on the back end of that. I mean, obviously he had trouble last week, but I mean, I for 7-1 for 23-11 to be a top Toyota, 100%.
Was it somewhere else he was way, let me see, was it Bet360? No. I thought I saw it. Maybe that was a different bet. Never mind. Just forget I said anything wrong.
I will erase this from the record, and we will go back and have everybody say, oh, Rod re-erased that. So, yeah, I did. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, but Cody does, and this is a nice inside joke for it. All right, I'm going to go head-to-head, but I'm not going to go driver head-to-head. I'm going to go team head-to-head. This one's not going to be very popular, but I do definitely think this one has legs. This is Childress over RFK. Going to be taking the Richard Childress team over RFK. It's 2-on-2, right? It's Dillon, it's Busch versus Keselowski and Buescher. So far this season, it's been RFK that has come up on top in Vegas and at Texas earlier in the season, where we had Roush Racing, right? RFK Racing coming in ahead of Childress in the last couple of races there. So Austin Dillon was the highest finishing in Las Vegas, where he actually finished 16th. But you look at Brad Keselowski, who finished 13th in this one, who beat him as well. And then, of course, in Texas a few weeks ago, Brad Keselowski finishes second. The top finishing Richard Childress again, it was Austin Dillon. Now, here's the funny thing about it, too. If you look back through Kansas, Austin Dillon's been the one that's been holding up his end of the bargain for Richard Childress in this one as well. Austin Dillon finishing 13th, the best finishing out of all of the Childress and RFK cars. Brad Keselowski finished 14th, right? One spot, but it doesn't matter because guess what? That cashed. Where you looked at Chris Buescher, he finished in 27th position. And then, let's see, Tyler Reddick was the other Childress car in that one. He finished 30th in that race in 2022. This is pre-Kyle Busch in that 8 car. You look at in the 2022 fall race at Kansas, it was Richard Childress once again. It was Austin Dillon once again, finishing 14th. He finished ahead of Brad Keselowski, who finished 25th in that race. Chris Buescher also finishing in 15th place. Austin Dillon edged out the RFK car by one spot again. What's Austin Dillon doing? How fantastic is that for Austin Dillon to be continuing to do that? And then for the 8 car, Tyler Reddick, crashed out after starting on the pole in that race, unfortunately. Sad for that. Last season, Austin Dillon, a top 10 finish in that one, the highest finishing of all of them. You got to go back to, let's see, I'm keep scrolling because you got to go back that far to find Brad Keselowski. 19th place for Brad Keselowski in that one. Chris Buescher in that race, 17th. And then you got to go all the way down to 35th place for Kyle Busch in the race, finishing that one. Well, it was a bad race for him again. And then in the fall of 2023, once again, you go to Austin Dillon, who was, let's see, I'm scrolling again. Richard Childress, Kyle Busch this time got it done with a 7th place finish. He finished higher than Brad Keselowski, who finished in 9th. This is a very, very close matchup. However, Richard's children has been
one of them is Richard's children's
grandchildren. Yeah,
close
absolutely.
enough.
Richard Childress has been on the winning end of this for the last 4 races in a row. I know that RFK has actually been doing very well on track so far this season, and they have been dominating. But this particular track, for whatever reason, Childress has the number of RFK. So I'm going to continue to roll with that one. It's cashed 4 out of 4 times. Let's roll with it again. So Childress over RFK minus 110.
100% is usually a pretty good number if you're looking for a positive on that, Rod. So
I'm not good at math, but I do get that.
Boji Joe saying let's go KB on the poll again. I don't know if we're gonna pull. I didn't think we'd get a poll last week either, so who knows. Troy, by the way, I wanted to mention this because I noticed this. Ford winning manufacturers at 7-1, Rod. Sad days at Ford. It is sad days. 7-1 in the past when somebody like Kevin Harvick was in the field, you would have to bet this, Rod. 7-1 is higher than like 4 or 5 drivers outright odds in this race, and you can't I can't even make a case to bet on Ford at 7-1. Like, just go pick somebody else that's at 7-1 and bet them instead of betting on all of the Fords to win this race, because the path for them to get there is just, it's rough. I don't know.
Bet on the Toyota at 7-1. That's even
better.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I would rather have that than Ford. It's so hard to hit. One of Richard's children is Jimmy Jackson, so you got to listen to the full show. That'll bring it all around here.
Listen. Full disclosure, it has been a hell of a week, guys, and we're only at Tuesday. Like already, I feel like it's been a month, and it's only been 2 days into the week. So you have to just give me the leeway of making all these mistakes, because I'm telling you right now, if you've been with us for 401 episodes, you already know that that I'm prone to one of them every once in a while. So thanks for hanging with it so far.
Yes. Okay, Rod. Next up for me, I don't usually like to take these types of bets. It's really hard to hit 3 drivers to finish inside the top 5. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever placed one of these before, but that's how confident I am in this one, Rod. I'm going to take Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Tyler Reddick to finish in the top 5. It's pre-built over at Caesars. It's plus 380. I think the number at almost 4-1 is good enough for this. A lot can happen, and we've seen this season, especially, that things don't necessarily always go to plan. But these 3 drivers are so fucking good at Kansas. It's so hard to see them not being 3 of the best 5 drivers. I mean, they should be the 3 best cars. I'll be shocked if, maybe Bubba's in there, maybe like a Truex or a Byron, but like, these 3 guys are going to be fast. Are they always reliable on their finishes? Tyler Reddick's pit crew is not. Kyle Larson has shown us what he can do at times, but these 3 guys, and I've got bets. Actually, we're going to talk about, we're not going to talk about Larson, but we're going to talk about Hamlin and Reddick more in the show. So I'll kind of save the points on them later. But I think that these 3 guys are head and shoulders above at this track. And I don't know. I feel like maybe it's because I go to this track so often, I pay more attention. I don't know what the deal is, but I feel like I'm pretty dialed in on Kansas, and these 3 guys are head and shoulders above everyone else, Rod. And I think that, yes, it's very chalky, but you're getting it almost 4-1. If things go in a chalky manner, these guys should be up there. So predicting 3 of the top 5 is always hard. But at 4-1 almost at plus 380, I think this is worth it. This is over on Caesars. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, all to finish in the top 5, plus 380. I'm very, very set on certain guys are going to be extremely good in this race, and really those are the three guys, Rob.
Well, and again, if you just look at what all of what you said, and of course what you're going to say later on all these guys, like this should be the top three. This should be the guys that are going to be running and running up front all day long. So, I mean, you're getting a couple of wiggle room spots for these guys just to sort of hold up the back end of that top five. You got past winners on this track. You've got guys that dominate on mile and a half. You've got some of the most dominant drivers in the entire sport. So, I mean, why shouldn't they be contenders for the win, which obviously puts them in the top three, which puts them in the top five. So I think it plus money at the way you're getting it right here at 380. I mean, it's almost 4-1 for this to happen. And that's just to top five. Like, yeah, I love this bet. So
yeah, I think again, it's extremely chalky, and I don't generally target these bets, but this week, this one's really sticking out to me. I think the number's right for it. I expect these three guys to be good. If something happens and Reddick's pit crew held him up, or Kyle Larson made that Kyle Larson mistake and he didn't finish the race, you can't be upset that you don't hit this bet. But if this goes how it should and goes to the level of these three guys are so far above everyone like it should, then this bet's going to hit and it's going to feel nice. So I like it. David with a question. I have another Bowman over Gibbs plus money bet. What do you think? I think they'll both be. I've got some thoughts on Alex Bowman in a bit here. We'll talk about him. Alex Bowman top 10, I'm going to probably love, depending on what the number is. Again, if we see top 10s, let us know. But Gibbs also potentially, the problem with Gibbs is his numbers are getting so short every week that it's making it hard to think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be edge of the top 10 again, maybe a little better, but it's getting harder to bet on him because there's not as many things. So I don't know.
Well, and then the second part of that, Logano top 5.
Oh, yeah, Logano top 5. But yeah, I missed that part. Logano top 5 at 10-1. Look, Rod, hardest driver in the field. He could be battling Jimmy Johnson for 32nd, or he could maybe win this race. Like they're literally look at the board every week, and both of those are true outcomes. Like he can be in the top 5, or he can be struggling to pass Corey LaJoie and Jimmy Johnson for 27th, and you're like, what the fuck is going on back there? Austin Cindric beat him at Dover last week, I think. So at 10-1, I mean, maybe it's worth a shot if you want to have money on him. Probably not where I'm going to invest my money, but
yeah, I'm kind of done putting money on Logano all season long until he starts to show something. So I don't know, but
also Boji Joe wants to know, why was Bowman so loved last week? Because he's really fucking good at Dover, and he was good. Again, he was fast. He's until that pit deal where he kind of got shuffled out. He was right there. I mean, he was second place to Larson for a while. Maybe he had a faster car. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, anything happens. Any given Sunday, right? Especially even in NASCAR. So, all right, I'm going to widen the scope out from what you gave as a top 5. I'm going to widen this to top 10. Caesars also has these all to finish in the top 10. I cannot believe that this is plus money, right? This is Reddick, Truex, and Byron, all top 10, plus 190. You're almost getting 2-1 on your money for all of these guys to be inside of the top 10. I mean, listen, we talked about it earlier with Reddick. Reddick was the last guy to win on this track. He won back in the fall of 2023. Now, granted, he had a 9th place finish in the spring race of that one, but, kind of getting his bearings in that 45 car. We talked about how good Kurt Busch was in that one as well, but he did start 5th, which means he started inside of the top 5. Unfortunately, he couldn't hang. 23 laps he led in that race as well. So he was a front runner for most of the day, just did not get into the top 5. Martin Truex Jr., actually, that was still a top 10 finish for him. So he cashed both of these in his 45. For some reason, I was thinking I said top 5, top 10. So he's done this both races in his 45 career. Martin Truex Jr., my goodness. I mean, look, last year he crashed out right after 3 laps, but he started 3rd, finished 36. A rough day for him there. But before that, finishes of 8th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 6th, 9th, 3rd, 6th. That is a streak going all the way back to the fall of 2019. Martin Truex Jr. is not anything but consistent on this track, other than, of course, a bad day out in the fall of last season. So, I mean, that's almost a no-brainer top 10 as well. As far as William Byron is concerned, he's a little more hit and miss, sadly, but he's more hit than he's missed. You go back to 2019, that fall of 2019, a 5th place finish there, 10th the next race, 8th, 9th, 6th, 16th, that's the outlier, right? 6th, 3rd, and then last season in the fall, a 15th place finish. So, but William Byron, we know, is one of the more consistent drivers on this track altogether. He's got an average finish of 9.2 on this track, going back all the way to the February of 2022 race. I mean, you look at these guys' speed rankings, right? When we look at these speed rankings, William Byron, 3rd overall in mile and a half total speed ranking since 2023. Tyler Reddick is 4th on that list. Martin Truex is 7th on that list. Look at Kansas heat rankings in the next gen era. You got Tyler Reddick as 4th, Martin Truex as 5th, William Byron as 10th. All of those averaging out to be inside of the top 10 when you're talking about speed rankings and talking about all the metrics that you use to measure that. So if I'm getting almost 2-1 for all of these guys to finish in the top 10, these cars are going to be fast all day long too. So I'm definitely taking this one. So again, if to go back and circle that one back, Reddick, Truex, and Byron, all top 10 cars, plus 190.
Yeah, I like this one a lot as well. Again, I expect Reddick to be one of the best cars. I expect Truex to be strong. Byron is always there. You can always count on him to be there at the end. Most of the time. It didn't work out last week, of course. But, yeah, I think, again, almost 2-1. Getting a pretty good number on this, so I like it. Troy, I've got some thoughts on that in a little bit that I will share. And I wanted to see, let's see, Robert checked in and said, what's up, guys? Better late than never. How about Group E over on Bet365? Well, you tuned in just in time, I would like to say. King, he thinks people are gassing Gragson. Might be time to go back to reality. Top 15 at best. You might want to tune out for the next 5 minutes or so. Rod's going to go grab a coffee while I talk about my guy, Noah Gragson. All right, Rod. This is why you watch on YouTube again. Rod actually got up and left his seat, left the screen. You don't even know what he's doing off screen. Oh, there he is. Maybe he didn't get a coffee, but he's going to have a sip of his water. Okay, Rod. This is the Noah Gragson section of the show. Like I said before, this is sort of a car lift, sort of a, I don't really know what you want to call it. So we're just going to go with a lot of bets on Gragson because there's a lot of stuff out there I like. First of all, top finishing Ford, 12-1. Look, we hit this last week. What was it? 26-1, 22-1? I don't remember. It was a big bet, and it hit. And the exact same reason it hit last week is why it's going to hit again this week, Rod. Who's the best Ford out there? We just talked about them being 7-1. Who is it? Is it who? I mean, Ryan Blaney's pretty solid every week, right? He was one spot behind Noah last week, so you expect him to be there. His odds are so short, though, hard to bet on him. Outside of that, you look at the rest of the Ford group. You just talked about the RFK guys not being good here, Rod. Who else are we looking at in the Ford? Where do we even go? I don't really know where to go from that. So it's one of these things where they've adjusted because they got killed last week, right? It's down to 12-1. But I still think even at 12-1, from what he's been doing, you got to like it. And really, the only things I have wrote down, 3rd and 6th the last 2 weeks. So he's on an incredible momentum run. 6th place last week at Dover, of course. The 3rd place was Talladega, yes, but hey, the momentum still builds. And then he was 6th place at Las Vegas earlier this season. What's the most comparable track to Kansas, Rod? Las Vegas. And, well, by the way, we've already been there and we have some results to look at. He was good there. Not going to go back and look at last year. Doesn't matter. Although I did see him throw a punch at Ross Chastain. I was right there. I made it on TV at that point in time, Rod, right after that fight was going on pit road. So that's the first bet, top Ford. Then we're going to go over to Caesars, group number C. He is 5-1 in this. Oh, I forgot to even mention Joey Logano in the top Ford part of things, Rod. That's exact. I mean, that alone should tell you enough. So group C over on Caesars. This is another way to get in on him being the top Ford without Blaney is kind of how I'm looking at this. So he's 5-1 in this group. It's Joey, Brad, and Buescher. Brad and Buescher are going to be right next to each other, whether that's 1st and 2nd or whether that's 29th and 30th. We know that. So wherever they're at, but you made the case against them great earlier for why they've not been that great here. Why if RCR is going to beat them, Noah Gragson can beat them, right? And Joey Logano, again, is he going to be racing Jimmy Johnson or is he going to be racing up front? We don't know. So I'll take maybe Jimmy Jackson. I don't know who else it could be. We don't know. But so at 5-1, just to beat 3 guys, I think he can be the best Ford in the entire series this weekend. And all he has to do is beat these 3 guys. He could finish. Maybe he does regress to 15th, like King said. He could still cash this bet and win Group C over on Caesars, Rod. Then we're going to go over to Group E, and this is actually the same I didn't get the number off of Superbook. Somebody had mentioned in the chat earlier. It is Group E there as well. So maybe they're using the same odds provider. But Group E on Bet365 and on Superbook, Gragson is plus 250 to win this one. And it is Michael McDowell. I don't know if I know everybody was all up his ass after the first two super speedways of the season. And, they're aligned with Penske and look how good they are. And he's like 30th in the points now. McDowell has not been good lately, so not worried about him. Ty Dillon's in, or not Ty Dillon, but Austin Dillon is in this group. You made a little bit of a case for him earlier, but again, it's Noah Gragson. I'm going to ride the momentum. I'm going to go with what we got. And Carson Hocevar is actually the guy that I'm most scared of in this group, which is a weird thing to say, but really he is. But he doesn't have the upside that Noah Gragson has, Rod. So I love this bet over on Bet365 and Superbook. It's Gragson to beat McDowell, Dillon, and Hocevar. And then, Rod, I hate to do this. It hurts my heart. You know how much I love Ty Gibbs. But BetMGM has a head-to-head bet, Noah Gragson versus Ty Gibbs. Gragson is plus 260, Rod. If you've got two drivers who are even in a somewhat similar ballpark, and the number is plus 260, you have to take the plus 260. How do you not? Now, if this was minus 110 either way, and it's Gragson and Gibbs, I probably wouldn't bet it, but I would pick Gibbs. I think Gibbs is going to be the better car. I think he's the better talent. He's in a faster car, no doubt. Probably should finish better, but even last week he didn't. And again, Gragson, 6th place at Las Vegas, 6th place at Dover last week, plus 260 in a head-to-head. All he has to do is beat one guy, Rod. Doesn't make any sense. So thank you for joining this section of Noah Gragson's Corner with Cody Zeeb. I know that was a lot of talk and a lot of bets on Noah, but hey, you know how I'm going to afford all these bets, Rod? From the big-ass fucking bet we cashed last week on him. We're going to roll it right back in, win some more money this week. I will now let you continue with your bets.
I don't have any more. The show's over. I'm just kidding. Listen, and for Noah Gragson, I mean, this is probably one of the chances you get to take to ride this momentum, because Noah Gragson does seem to be settling into this ride. He does seem to be settling into this team, and he looks and sounds, I guess, from when they talk to him, they don't really talk to him that much anymore. Maybe they're like, listen, we'll let you drive, but we're not going to let you talk. So we'd rather you stay out of trouble. So no, but he definitely loves I think he loves this team, and I think he loves this ride. So he's doing the best with it.
Yes. Boji Joe checking and saying another lap, and Blaney would have caught him at Dover. But there wasn't another lap, so he didn't catch him. So
there was no other lap. All right, I'm going to turn my attention to Ryan Blaney. The super secret speakeasy is shut down. I believe that we tapped them all out of whatever they were serving. So
well, it's weird this week, Rod. It's like sprinkled in. The general public can now view it. It's strange, but there's like 4 different drivers. But it's like if you go to just like the featured section, and there's like Blaney, and then you guys scroll down, and then there's like Keselowski and Suarez, and one other guy was on there. I was like, it's a little strange, but at least you don't have to have the secret password to get into the speakeasy now.
Yeah, I think basically they were like, yeah, you know what? You guys pretty much cleaned us out of the good stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and throw the house drinks at you right now. So you get the well, you don't get the top shelf anymore. So our bad. But we'll still find them when we can, and we'll still exploit them when we can.
One more good point too, though. I was catching up on the chat because you guys were blowing up while I was talking. This was the one that I saw mispriced earlier. So Gragson 12-1 on a lot of books to be the top finishing Ford, but he's only 6-1 on Bet365, Rod. I mentioned it when I was talking about Bubba, but it was Noah was the one. 6-1 on Bet365. They're not. They must have really got hurt last week, and they're not. But that goes to show you, hey, that's not too bad. So.
Yeah, again, we keep assaulting these guys, and they're like, nope, stop, we're done. All right, so I'm going to turn my attention to Ryan Blaney. His finishing position over on Caesars, not the speakeasy anymore, the well version of it, is 10.5. This is set at minus 105 for the over, which means I think he's going to finish worse outside of the top 10. But Rod, you say, Ryan Blaney, he's the returning champ. He's a guy. He's awesome. He's amazing, right? Well, his average finish on Kansas in his career, in his 18 career starts, 16.2. You look at his last finishes going back to 2019. Actually, let's go back to 2018, okay? Granted, there were some good finishes before that in the 2017, but 2018 in the fall, 37th. 28th in the spring, 37th. 28th in the fall, he had a 7th place finish, which was great, right? But then he goes back to obscurity, 32nd, 21st, 20th in the next 3 races, pops up with another 7th place finish, which, again, I know that that's better than 10, but I'm still not sold because the next couple of weeks, or next couple of years rather, 21st, 37th, 12th, that's 3 bad finishes in a row. Then he pops up with a 9th place finish. Then the next 2 finishes, 16th and 12th. I'm not a gifted mind, but I can pick up on patterns, okay? So he pops up with a good finish in 7th place, 3 bad finishes in a row, right? Pops up with another 7th place finish, 3 bad finishes in a row. Then he pops with the 9th place. He's in the midst of his 3rd bad finish in a row. If you go back 16th, 12th, outside of the top 10 for Ryan Blaney again. I mean, like I said, it's not necessarily that I think he's a bad driver, but for some reason, this track has his number. But, I mean, he was 8th in total speed rankings on Kansas in the next-gen era. The finishes just aren't there. He runs fast. He just doesn't finish well on this one. So, again, and for Ryan Blaney, look at all of these total speed rankings for conventional tracks leading up to Kansas. He's sitting there at 8th, right? And he's got an average speed ranking of 10.14, which means, again, it's hanging around too close to the top 10 for my likings. And if we're going to go back with track history, it's been more bad than it's been good for him here. So granted, while he's been fast, he hasn't been able to finish well on this one. So I don't think Ryan Blaney has a top 10 finish in him. So I'm going to go ahead and take him to be over 10.5, which remember in the world of Caesars means he's going to finish with a higher, a number that is more than 10, right? So over 10, not under 10, but over 10. So,
worse than 11th place or worse, Rob.
Yes, that's that. Thank you, underdog Cody, for cleaning up the language for that. But yes, Blaney over 10.5 at -105.
Yeah, no argument here. Again, the Ford thing, it's just, and yeah, like you said, he's a little inconsistent. And could we see, in a few weeks he pops up and wins the Coke 600 again? Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that. And actually, let's go ahead and just keep that in the back of our mind. That might be a week to bet on Ford because that extra 100 miles does crazy things. You see weird shit. Ford wasn't doing anything at that point last season, and Blaney goes out, wins that race. But right now, I just don't want, as much as I just talked about Noah Gragson, I don't want that much to do with the rest of the Fords, Rod. And yeah, I do like this on Blaney. And I think even just being set at 10.5 kind of shows you they're not really in on Blaney this week. I mean, in general, you'd think maybe he should be a little bit of a lower number than that. So I like it.
All right, where are we going next?
Yes, I'm going to go back to my guy, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He was on his way to winning me some money last week, Rod, and went up in flames, unfortunately. Burnt the pancakes in the Hungry Jack car. A little unfortunate, but I'm going to jump back in on Stenhouse this week. I'm going to take him over on Group H in Caesars at +300. Potentially will like his top 10 number. Again, we don't have any fucking top 10s right now for whatever reason, which is rather annoying, Rod. We even delayed the show, started late, still no top 10 numbers. So come on, books, do better, please. But anyways, going to take Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Group H, +300 over on Caesars. This group has Austin Dillon, Ryan Preece, and Carson Hocevar in it. Ryan Preece, I think he's trying to drive that 41 car to the unemployment office and go ahead and get filed for that, because when SHR sells that charter, he's going to be out on his ass without a ride, and he's not looked good in any way, shape, or form lately. So not really worried about him. Austin Dillon, you mentioned he's had some decent finishes here, but it's Austin Dillon. So again, also not too worried. Another one where Carson Hocevar is the one guy I'm slightly worried about, but I think Stenhouse has the upside for this. And +300, I like it. Stenhouse actually pretty good here. Top 12 in two of four next gen races. And there's also a little bit of like a dirt track theory to Kansas based on how the track has changed over the years, how the lines kind of change, and guys that are dirt track guys are able to search around more because they're so used to doing it on dirt tracks. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., a dirt track guy. He's a big sprint car racer, right? I think he's got that a little bit. You go back through 22 starts here for Ricky Stenhouse. 8 times he's finished inside the top 13. If you're going to tell me he finishes inside the top 13 or around that area, I think he can easily win this group. He was running in top 10 at points last week, looking like maybe he would cash that bet for us before, of course, he had that issue. 17th place at Las Vegas, not the best day, but not horrible. Again, that could win this group. 9th place at Texas last fall. He was 7th at Charlotte. Now, that's that extra 100 miles that I was just talking about that can make a difference, and a guy like Ricky Stenhouse can finish 7th. 12th at Auto Club last year, some comparable tracks as well. So, yeah, I like Ricky Stenhouse. I'd be very interested in his top 10 number when that comes out. But I do like him at Group H on Caesars at plus 300. You get him at 3-1. He doesn't have to finish in the top 10. I mean, really, you could be looking even at like a 20th place finish in winning this group or 15th, something like that. And we know Stenhouse has got that in him. So I like that.
Well, and you talked about Dylan too earlier about where he could, I mean, look, to cash a lot of these bets that we have on Dylan, like he doesn't even have to be a top 15 car. Like if he could beat Keselowski and Buescher and Keselowski are like 16th and 17th because they run together all the time. And Dylan's a top 15 car. I mean, again, we don't have to see Dylan competing for even a top 10 to cash any of these. So the fact that he's in this group with Stenhouse, I guess it's the only real comfortable way to get in on Ricky Stenhouse, because I'm not pegging him as a top 10 car this week. So, I mean, if he's 13th and then everybody else falls in line behind him, I mean, you're cashing this bet at 3-1. So you got to love that. All right. Oh, go ahead.
Boji Joe tossing out, fading the number of Fords in the top 10, under 2.5 is minus 170 on Caesars.
A lot to lay though.
Is it, Rod? You only pay the juice if you lose. Give me the 3 Fords that are going to finish in the top 10 this week, Rob. Noah Gragson.
Where's my cricket sounds? I need, wait, hold on. Wait, let's do that again. Go ahead, Cody. Name me what?
All right, here's the top Fords. The Fords that are going to finish in the top 10. Noah Gragson.
Yeah, that's about it. All right. Okay, you're right. You're right.
I mean, maybe Ryan Blaney.
No.
Chase Briscoe's got an outside chance. Joey's always a wild card, but meh. I mean, yeah, minus 170. I'm not going to add it officially to the card, but if you want to bet that and you're comfortable laying, and man, we talk about this sometimes a lot in F1, it comes up. If you're comfortable laying a bet like that, I mean, like I told you last week, I ended up getting Gragson over Johnson minus 180 day of the race. I put way more money than I would like to admit on that bet because it was minus 180, and it sucks if you lose a bet like that because it stings. But it wasn't going to lose, except for if Gragson got a wreck or something like that happens. But it wasn't even close. I mean, he beat him by like 8 laps or something. It was ridiculous. So sometimes you just take bets that are good. So again, not officially adding that out there, but if you want to consider that at minus 170, might be a bet that I'll actually go grab. So.
Okay. You guys go ahead and do that. I don't know, because again, it could just be that somebody accidentally does it and you're screwed, and that's a lot.
Yeah, but you got to get 2 people that accidentally do it, Rod.
That's true. That's true. You are correct. So, all right, fine. You could do it. Cody says you could do it. You could do it. This is like parents. All right, fine. If mom says you could do it, go ahead. I'm not even going to fight it anymore. Just do it. And then it happens and it turns out bad for you. Just don't remember I told you so. Blah. All right. I'm going to return to the Denny Hamlin conversation, and I'm going to put him as a top 3 car. This one's still plus 120. The fact that Denny Hamlin is still plus money for a top 3 finish is quite ridiculous. The last 3 races for Denny Hamlin on this track have resulted in a second, first, and second place finish. I could pretty much just rest my case after that. You are 3 for 3 hitting a top 3 on this track. Doesn't matter what's happened. Doesn't matter what's been going on. He's a top 3 car. He's second in high speed 1.5 mile track total speed rankings since 2023. He is tied for first with Christopher Bell in Kansas Next Gen total speed rankings heat chart. And unlike the other guys that we were talking about, his finishes actually reflect that. Denny Hamlin first on conventional tracks in total speed rankings to date, heading to Kansas. Oh, and by the way, Denny Hamlin has 3 wins on the season, 3 top 5 finishes. Of course, all 3 of those have been wins, but at the same time, he's won 3 races in the season. I don't know how much more you need to take Denny Hamlin as a top 3 car at plus 120. And I'm not asking him to win, right? I just want him to finish in the top 3. Can he win? Sure. But I've got a bet later on that'll definitely cover if that happens. But as a top 3 car, I feel like this is about as locky as you can get, especially with how he's been running lately. I mean, he is more confident now. And it's weird because if you watch Denny, he's not doing the villain thing as much as he was last season when he was winning all those races. He just seems like he's quietly confident in the fact that he's just going to go out and kick everyone's ass and then, gloat about it later on his podcast. But at least on the track, he's sort of taking it all in stride. So, I'm just saying that to me, plus money for Denny Hamlin as a top 3. I figured that this would be minus money for Denny Hamlin at top 3. So if you're getting this anywhere close to even money, you take this and you run with it. So this is on 365. In fact, it is minus money, I believe, on Caesars. Bet365 has this at plus money. So that's why I put the Bet365 number on this.
Yeah, I love this. I actually had this penciled in farther down the road, so I just changed that bet to something else because I didn't realize you had it. But yeah, this is, you've got to bet this, I think, in my opinion. Plus, he's only plus 450 to win the race, Rod. Plus 120, that covers you if Larson wins. That covers you if Reddick wins and edges him out. He's going to be there. He's top 4 in all 4 next-gen races here. He was just battling for the win at Texas a couple of weeks ago. He's got that luxury of being able to stick it out there and go for it. And he got in a bad spot on the outside alley and ended up in the wall. But I think top 3 bet on him is great. He's there every single week. He's mentioned it. He's got probably one of the best crew chiefs in the garage at this point. He's got the best pit crew at this point. Everything is clicking. He's riding a high. We're also on a streak, and he talked about this on his podcast. Dover, Kansas, Darlington, into the All-Star break, like 3 of his best tracks anyways. It's Denny Hamlin time right now. So, I'm actually going to talk about him some more, Rod. So we'll just get into that. I've got a loaded group of bets in this box because we don't have numbers on everything. So Denny Hamlin, one of those bets. This is where I was going to give him top 3, but actually Bet365 keeps opening and closing their top 5 numbers for whatever reason. Back open again, minus 110 for Denny over there for a top 5. So I think you hit the top 3, but smash this top 5. Gives you 2 extra spots. It's only minus 110. I love that. Tyler Reddick also top 5 plus 100. Again, I am so confident, Rod, in these 3 drivers this week, in Larson, Hamlin, and Reddick, that I'm just going to put a lot of money on all of them to be up here. And if I lose it, I lose it. But they should all be good this week. So Hamlin at minus 110, Reddick at plus 100. Both great bets to be in the top 5, I think. We don't have top 10 odds. I was just looking around. I still don't see any. So stay tuned in the Discord. That's the best place. I'll give these out when we get numbers. We'll talk about it, whether we're still going to take it. So I penciled them in. Alex Bowman is a guy that I love for a top 10 this week, Rod. And based on where he's at, like in the outright odds, he's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He's the 13th place driver in the top 10s. He's 6 to 1-ish for a top 3. So I think you're going to get around maybe a 110, minus 110, minus 120 for Bowman for a top 10. Minus 120 or anything better than that, I'm taking on Alex Bowman, maybe even up to minus 130. And then, Rod, I'm going to toss out the Corey Heim top 10. Now, again, we don't even know if Corey Heim is going to be in this race. So keep that in mind, right? And we'll see. But impressive run last weekend by him. Just jumps in the car. Not a ton of pressure other than you're in a STP petty colored car, right? And starting at Dover, one of the toughest tracks. But he comes out, runs well. We saw this last season from Havar in the 42 car, basically the same car, right? This is a 43. That was a 42. Coming in, doing the relief thing, having good runs. Corey Heim, 4th and 2nd in the Truck Series last year at Kansas. Eric Jones, Rod, finished 3rd here in the fall last season, 5th in green flag speed, according to iFantasy Race. And that was in a Chevrolet when they were already on their way out of things. Now a Toyota, who's, by the way, won 4 races in a row at Kansas. Yes, please. Corey Heim, top 10. It's going to be a big number, and that's why you like it, right? You're not going to bet there's a minus 110 or something. But I'm expecting 10 to 1, 12 to 1, somewhere in that range. And I would take that number on Corey Heim. I think it's a good bet. I think not going to be a top 10 car all day, but I think he's got the ability to put himself there at the end. If he runs a clean race, a smart race, good chance he goes out, wins on Saturday in the Truck Series, and then turns around and has a good day on Sunday as well. So, again, as of this time that we're recording this, Eric Jones is planning to be in the car, or at least that's what we know. But I think Oriheim will be in this. So when the top 10 odds come out, go ahead and hit that bet.
God bless youth, because if that were me and I like broke a vertebra, I think I'd be done. I think I'd have to just retire. I'd go the way of Kurt Busch and just be like, you know what? I'm out. That was fun. I don't need to hurt myself anymore. Let's just go ahead and call this a career. So, all right. I'm going to go with one of the more unconventional bets that are out there as well from Caesars. I love that they're giving us more of these. I'm going to go with the most laps led by a driver, set at 104.5. I'm going to go ahead and take the over on this one. It's minus 115. Last season, this did not happen in either race. Kyle Larson was the lap leader in the 2023 fall race. He led 99 laps. And then in the spring race, it was Kyle Larson again leading 85. But in 2022, Alex Bowman led 107 laps on this track in the fall race. And then it was Kurt Busch leading 116 laps in the spring race. And that 2021, Kyle Larson led 130 laps on this track. And then in the spring race and the Bushy McBush race, Kyle Larson leading another 132 laps as well. Listen, all I'm saying right now is that I know that it's difficult to pass in these cars, right? Kyle Busch, rather, they say you can't pass. But I do know that Kyle Larson can get off to pretty long stretches of green flag runs and of leading laps. Now, do I think he's going to be the one to lead these 104, 105 laps? Nah, maybe not. But I think Denny Hamlin could very much jump out and lead 104 laps. I think Martin Truex Jr. could lead a bunch of laps here as well. I think many, many more of these Toyotas could do it as well. And yes, Kyle Larson has a shot to do it just like he does. So, Boji Joe, I don't want you all to fall asleep. What are we talking about?
Well, you got one guy leading all the laps. They're going to fall asleep, Rob.
Well, and I understand that as well, but there's strategy to this, right? I mean, you watch them all stack up. But look, if you look at the history, like I said, it's happened. It didn't happen last year, but it happened in the last 2 years before that. And so it has happened in the next gen era, and it definitely has happened before that as well. 2020, it didn't, but I'm throwing 2020 out because 2020 is kind of an outlier of a year altogether. So, yeah, I mean, again, with it being not happening last season, that's but we were only 6 laps away from it not hitting with Kyle Larson leading the 99. So again, I think you're starting to see these guys be able to jump out to huge leads and to sort of run these laps. I mean, didn't Martin Truex Jr. just lead he's still leading one of these tracks where he led 695 laps in a 200 lap race. So yeah, again, it can be done. And we're not asking them to lead all of these 267 laps, just 105 of them, which I think can happen. So give me most laps led by a driver over 104.5 at minus 115.
I could go either way on this. I think you will get some guys out there for a stretch, but this has been a track where we've had a lot of different leaders. I saw lead changes at 19.5. I sort of like the over. I didn't take it, but it feels like you get a lot of different comers and goers in this type of race, especially with the tire wear we see and everything. I don't know. I'm going to root against this, Rod, but that's okay. Also, JDK saying, Zeeb, great stats on Heim. He loves it. I forgot to credit my statistician, the JDK, on that because he dropped that info, so I didn't even have to look it up. So I like it.
Isn't it great to have research assistants, Cody? I want to send you a spot in our career where we have research assistants.
I know, where you just be like, hey, look this number up for me.
Yeah.
That's always Steve Latardo is always on his podcast. He's like, hey, what's the number? And he's got the statistician guy right there and just, passes it over. It's like, oh, that'd be nice. So, Boji Joe, these no passing races cause pressure on the pit crews. Who has the advantage, disadvantage? I mean, I think we've kind of seen the cream rise to the top. Look at last week, right? Hamlin's crew is good. Larson's crew is pretty good, and he's going to have his full crew back this week, I believe now. So I think they were suspended for Talladega and Dover. William Byron's has traditionally been pretty good. They made a mistake this past week, but that's going to happen sometimes when they're going that fast. Guys like Tyler Reddick, I think, are at a bit of disadvantage because we've seen 2311's had some problems. Ty Gibbs has had some problems. There's guys who've had some serious pit problems, so I don't know. It's always hard to tell, but I think Kansas will be a little bit more of a racy track. Passing is never super easy, and it's racing, so it shouldn't probably be easy to pass anyways. But there's going to be different strategies and tire wear and stuff. So it's going to keep it exciting at Kansas. We've had nothing but exciting races there lately.
Well, and even with the excitement, though, there's still guys that have jumped out to lead a bunch of laps. So you won't fall asleep. Yes. You'll still have fun watching it. Speaking of that, let's pick some winners, shall we, Cody?
Let's pick some winners, Rod. I think it was Troy said earlier, it felt like you should get in on Byron. So I was looking at the odds boards this week, Rod, and it's Larson at 400. It's Denny Hamlin at 450. You're giving out a guy that I really like and probably would have taken if you didn't take him first. And so I was like, man, I don't like going over the top. Like Denny just won last week. Don't want to pick him again. You could take Larson, but man, ever betting on Larson at 4-1 is just so tough because you really got to pick your spots with him. So I'm like, you know what, William Byron 8-1, let's take it. So I start to research and I'm like, God, I can't really talk. I mean, he's got 3 wins, Rod, and he's good. And if he wins, would I be surprised? And I felt like 8-1's a good number, but it's really not when you look at the history. So I was like, okay, Martin Truex Jr. I'll do. So I started looking at Martin Truex Jr. I'm like, everything in me just kept pulling me back to James Dennis Allen Hamlin. Give me Denny Hamlin plus 450, Rod. I know he just won last week. I know that it's going to be hard to win back-to-back, but Rod, he owns Kansas Speedway. Actually, we should check the Wikipedia entry, and if you have the ability to edit that, you should edit that to Denny Hamlin owning that track. Because, Rod, we've come here 4 times in the next-gen car. Denny Hamlin, 4 for 4 winning at Kansas. Now, a couple of those wins were as an owner, but he's 4 for 4. He's won all of them. It's been him winning or his car winning. Go back to last season. So let's go back. We'll go back in order here. Last year in the fall, he's leading, running away with it. Nobody's going to catch him. Caution flag. Tyler Reddick, his car, has fresher tires, and boom, he takes the lead, and Denny finishes second to him. But Denny was well on his way to winning. Go back to the spring last year. He's running Larson down at the end, plays it just perfectly. Larson gets loose, gets into the wall. Hamlin passes him, wins the race, Rod. You go back to the fall of 2022. Again, a Denny Hamlin car wins, and Bubba Wallace, guess who was in second place? It was Denny Hamlin once again. And then in the spring of 2022, 4th place. So he was right there as well. He's won 4 times at Kansas in the past already. So he's been good here. Again, 4 for 4, either Denny or Denny's cars winning at this track. So how can you talk yourself out of Denny at that point? Only plus 450. It's not super sexy, but man, again, I said it earlier. It's going to be Hamlin. It's going to be Larson. It's going to be Reddick. These are the guys I expect to be up there. If Larson just beats me, then Larson beats me. What's the number on that, Troy? The Hamlin-Larson exacta. They did talk about this on Hamlin's pod. I think it was 6 times they finished 1-2. Denny's won all 6 of them, by the way. Now, there's been a few run-ins, obviously, Kansas, Pocono last year, where Denny got Larson late into the wall and ends up winning. But I tried to not take Denny Hamlin as the outright at plus 450, Rod, and I couldn't do it. I think Denny Hamlin plus 450 is the way to go. This next bet, if you have Superbook, run the fuck over there and place it right now. Bubba Wallace somehow is 18-1 on Superbook right now. If you have MGM, he's 14-1 over there. I would still take that as well. Bubba Wallace should not be. He's like 11-1 at a lot of places. So, man, 18-1 on Superbook. Go get this as soon as possible. It will not stay at this number. 14-1 on MGM, if that's all you have available, I would take that as well. Talked about Bubba earlier, Rod, but he's really fucking good here. Again, 32nd place in the fall, but that was an outlier. He was 3rd place when that tire blew, had a fast car. He was 4th in the spring, won in the fall of 22. He led 58 laps that day, right? It wasn't a fluke win. He was out front. He was 7th at Texas here recently. He wrecked at Las Vegas earlier this season, but he led 111 laps at Texas at the end of last season. He was 4th at Las Vegas last year as well. Bubba Wallace is good on certain tracks. And again, it's like we talked about Truex last week. Dover, every time we come to Dover, doesn't matter how he's running, doesn't matter anything, shows up and he's good. Kansas is that track for Bubba. He's got this circled. He knows he can win here. He's done it before. I think he can do it again. 18-1. Are you kidding me? You've got to bet this number and bet it sooner rather than later. And then, Rod, kind of my, again, like those are the kind of 4 guys, right? It's the Denny, it's the Larson, it's the Reddick, and Bubba, I think, is just in that next group. For some reason, I'm feeling a little bit Alex Bowman this week, and I don't exactly know why it is, But if the heart says to take some Alex Bowman at 20-1, then the heart's going to take some Alex Bowman at 20-1. He's been top 4 in all 3 next-gen starts here. Didn't race in the spring of last season because of his back injury. He was 4th in the fall of 2022 here. Had a 2nd place in 2019. I was at that race, Rod. The fastest car I think I've ever seen Alex Bowman in. He was so freaking good. Brad Keselowski ends up winning that race, which I enjoyed because I was there as part of the Miller Lite group. So we got to see the Miller Lite car in victory lane, which was great. But Alex Bowman was fucking fast that day. We've seen him win before at Kansas, or not at Kansas, but at Chicagoland, a similar track, and some other places like that. And Alex Bowman, like, his wins are random and you almost don't expect them. So I do like Bowman this week. He showed speed last week at Dover. He had a fast car. He was 3rd place at Las Vegas last season in the spring before he got injured. Again, that injury led to him not doing great. You know, there's been all the hot seat talk this year and stuff, but you look, he's had, I think, 3 or 4 top 4 finishes this season. He's been having a solid season. He's one of those guys, probably not going to be the best car all day. Put himself in position. You get that late caution. We get a lot of like just random cars spinning out at Kansas, stuff like that. And maybe Bowman's in the right spot at the right time at the end. 20-1, worth a little sprinkle.
Indeed. All right. So listen, Brian Twiney coming in and checking in, saying the Bowman or Byron plus 900 is the best value at Bet Rivers. We just got done talking about him. And then he says that the Watermelon Man would finish better than Bowman.
I've seen a lot of people like all over Chastain, and I get his record at Kansas is pretty good, but what have you seen from Trackhouse lately that makes you have any faith in Trackhouse? I haven't seen much from him. I don't know.
I couldn't research my way into a Chastain bet this week. So, but I could research my way. As I was looking at all of these and all of the Toyota, and we were talking about everything going on, and I was like, I didn't want to make a decision. So I just said, to hell with it. I'm taking Toyota as the winning manufacturer at minus 110 because that gives me all of them. That gives me all of who we were talking about. It gives me Bubba. It gives me Tyler. It gives me Denny. It gives me Truex just in case. We're not ringing the bell, but listen, if Christopher Bell decides to ring it himself,
that's a hard bell to ring lately.
It's a very hard bell to ring lately. So that's what I'm saying. But I've got myself covered just in case that happens as well. So
this is like the bet of the week. If Rod didn't have this in here, I would have added this. Toyota minus 110. I fully back you on this. Look, you easily could win this bet with Denny Hamlin, with Tyler Reddick, with Bubba Wallace, with Martin Truex, with Ty Gibbs, with Christopher Bell. I mean, all of these guys can easily go out and be the fastest car, the best car, win the race. They're 4 for 4 in the next gen era of Toyota is.
Well,
they've won all 4 races,
but they're also 5 of 6, and they actually, if you go back, they're 7 of the last 9. So, I mean, it's hard to.
This is a Toyota track. You've got to bet Toyota at minus 110, I think.
Yeah. So like I said, 7 of the last 9, 5 of the last 6, Toyota has come across in the finishing line, which is why, but see, the reason why I didn't want to pick just one, you look back, it was Tyler Reddick, it was Denny Hamlin, it was Bubba Wallace, it was Kurt Busch, right? It was Kyle Busch back in the Toyota back then. And then Denny Hamlin again, it was like, and Denny Hamlin again. So, I mean, Denny Hamlin would have been the one to pick. You're right. But I didn't want to pick one because they were all over the board. So I was like, all right, fine. I'm just taking Toyota.
It covers you if Bell, I mean, we know Bell can be fast. We know Bell can have good weeks. He's hard to bet on because he's so inconsistent. He's been in a rough patch, but we know he can do it. That covers you. Martin Truex Jr.'s won here before, and he can be fast on any given week. Maybe Ty Gibbs pops up and gets his win this week. You're covered with all of that stuff. It covers you on Denny. It covers you on Reddick. It covers you on Bubba. Again, all these guys can win, so I will definitely be placing this bet this week, and I love that you got it on there.
Yep, and then JDK saying JGR is plus 200 and 20-11 is plus 500. Those are 2 good bets to place as well because that's 2 of the major
that's the only chances. We forgot to mention Jimmy Johnson. If he wins this race, you're covered too, Rod.
Who knows?
But Corey Heim, obviously, we know has a better chance.
Yeah.
And John Hunter Nemechek, you can never count him out. Yeah. Well, you probably can, but.
And then just to toss out one, because I said, well, okay, fine, Rod, pick one. So I like Reddick at plus 650 as well. That's actually a good number for the 45 car, which has been dominant on this track for the last couple of seasons. So I figure 6.5 to 1 is good.
Yeah, 45 car specifically is the car that won with Kurt Busch, with Bubba Wallace, and with Tyler Reddick. So, yeah, 45 has been a good car.
Yep. So at 6.5 to 1, give me the 45 car and Toyota as the winning manufacturer to win the race. All right, get out your pen and paper. It is time to go over the bets for this Advent 400. And for those of you watching on YouTube, it's time for our graphic. Cody started you out with Bubba Wallace as the top Toyota at 7 to 1. I said that Richard Childress would finish better than RFK at minus 110. Cody gave you both, or all three of Larson, Denny, and Reddick to finish inside of the top 5 at plus 380. I said Reddick, Truex, and Byron would all finish in the top 10 at plus 190. Cody gave you Noah Gragson as the top 4 to 12 to 1 to win Group C on Caesars at 5 to 1, to win Group E on Bet365 and Superbook at 2.5 to 1, and to finish better than Ty Gibbs at plus 250. I said that Ryan Blaney would finish over 10.5, which means he would finish outside of the top 10 at minus 105. Cody gave you Ricky Stenhouse to finish better in Group H at 3 to 1. And then on Caesars, by the way, and I gave you Denny Hamlin as a top 3 car at plus 120 over on Bet365. Cody gave you the hypothetical Corey Heim at top 10. Look out for that. And of course, the Bowman at top 10. Look out for that as well. And then Denny as a top 5 car at minus 110. Reddick as a top 5 car at plus 100. I said that a driver, one at least, would lead more than 104.5 laps at minus 115. Cody gave you Hamlin at 4.5 to 1, Bubba at 18 to 1 on Superbook, Bowman at 20 to 1 to win the race. I said just take that Toyota winning manufacturer and make that the only bet you place this week. Or if you want, you can also toss him on Tyler Reddick at 6.5 to 1. That is our betting card for this. Oh, as I accidentally think Advent 400 at the Kansas Speedway, Cody.
I'm excited. Again, the racing we've gotten at Kansas has been great the last couple of seasons. So really pumped for this weekend. As you should be a really good show. And hopefully we cash some bets this weekend.
I would like to cash some bets this weekend. I think all of you guys would definitely like to cash your bets this weekend. We've been cashing bets all season long. So absolutely fun to keep doing these shows for you folks. And hanging out with the live crowd too. Like Boji Joe saying, great show. Thank you and good racing for sure. Brian checking one more time, like Reddick top Toyota 300, a little more than his outright price. It's a good way to go to. Definitely take,
the thing with that is, I guess that covers the second place finish to Kyle Larson. I don't know. I'm torn on that, I guess.
It's tough. That's what I'm saying.
You're cutting your price in half for when you're probably going to have to win to be the top Toyota, likely. I know I made the case for Bubba. That was a bigger number. I don't know.
We shall see. Racing begins this weekend for sure. So have some fun doing that. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and allow you to fill out your cards as we have kept you for a decent amount of time on this show. So as we exit, Cody, let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Rod, first of all, I would like to give a shout out to our friend Rob K. He left a Apple Podcast review like you should.
Yes,
By the
please.
way, Rob, reach out to me. Hit me up on Twitter, X, Facebook, Discord, whatever. You're going to get a sticker, but you're also going to get a NASCAR Gambling Podcast t-shirt for this great review. So love it. He said, I started listening to the podcast to get a better understanding of NASCAR betting, and betting in general has become more mainstream, and it hasn't disappointed. Cody and Rod don't talk in an explain like I'm 5-way to where it's annoying to experienced bettors, but they make everything easy enough to understand that I have learned a lot and now feel comfortable contextualizing the odds. Another nice thing about the pod is that I am in multiple NASCAR, F1, and IndyCar. This is my type of guy. IndyCar fantasy leagues. Listening helps me not have to do the extra research on the side. Cody and Rod do their due diligence in researching and handicapping. Best applied to fantasy in addition to betting. Great listening and would highly recommend. Again, that's from Rob K. Be like Rob K. And go leave us a review. They help us out, helps the algorithms. The Google machines love that. And again, Rob, reach out to us and we'll get you hooked up with some fun swag. All that being said, Rod, you can find me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff over there. Got a ton of stuff out. I'm just going to say that. Go check it out. F1 Gambling Podcast is out. That's Rod. Again, even if you're not an F1 fan, just go listen. It's this show. We're just talking about the F1 race. race. And we had a 66-1 last Grand Prix. So even though Max Verstappen wins all the races, you can still hit bets over there. And they're in Miami this week. It's like 3 o'clock in the Central Time. So easy to watch race right along with the NASCAR race. So check that out as well. And back tomorrow with Truck Series bets, Rob.
Indeed. We're looking forward to that one for sure. And then, of course, DFS later on in the week. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez for as long as it's up. Find all the stuff I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, whether it is in between media. Having some fun this week on the back road with Seth and Elliott. So hang tight on that one. And, of course, everybody, we'll see you again tomorrow with our truck picks. So until then, let's go racing and let it ride.